Once everyone had recovered from the attack of the Saiyans, Krillin would bring up his idea of them going to Namek in order to see if they could possibly use the Dragon Balls there. Like in the original, Mr. Popo provides them with a ship to use in order to get there, though Bulma needs to fix it up a little. So the group trained for a bit while she works on it. Bulma, Gohan, Krillin and Yamcha would head into space first, with Bulma bringing a supply of frozen blood packs in order for Krillin to sustain himself, enough to last him a few months so they didn't know how long they'd be on Namek. Krillin would spend a few days before the trip trying to stockpile the power of darkness. Krillin, Yamcha and Gohan would all train together on the way there, with the three of them becoming quite formidable. By the time they arrived on Namek, Yamcha and Krillin were at comparable levels of strength, at around 8,000 for Krillin and 7,500 for Yamcha, though with the power of darkness Krillin could go up to 12,000. Gohan still lagged behind at 3,000 for now. Despite being surrounded by the darkness of space, Krillin didn't feel anything. He didn't really get it, but maybe it was something to do with the moon. The idea of Bulma and Yamcha getting back together did come up on the journey, but ultimately both decided against it. They'd tried often enough, and it hadn't worked out. It wasn't healthy for either of them to keep on trying. When they do arrive, however, they're immediately attacked by Frieza's men. They fend them off pretty easily, of course, but there are issues. They destroyed the ship, as well as Krillin's supply of blood. That was really bad. He'd never tried going without blood, but at least according to Fang, it was a really bad idea. He wouldn't die, but a blood-starved vampire would start to lose it. They'd be unable to tell friend from foe. They could lose control and attack anyone in their way for blood. He felt fine for now, but he didn't know how long it would last. Krillin was thankful for the distraction at least, as they left to go search for Dragon Balls. Unfortunately, the village they came to was under attack. Gohan would blindside Dodoria and they'd run, saving Dende. Dodoria tried to give chase, but was knocked out the sky by Krillin after being blinded with a solar flare. Not long after, Dodoria was dealt with by Vegeta. Fresh off killing Kui, he was feeling pretty good and Dodoria didn't do any better. Also, around the same time, Yajirobe would give Goku a senzu bean and he'd be off to Capsule Corp to get a ship, so he'd arrive in 6 days. But back on Namek, they'd take Dende back to Bulma and Yamcha, and after taking a moment to collect himself, Dende would reveal that one of the Dragon Balls was kept with Guru, but Guru was far away, and it would take a long time to get there. Even so, Krillin goes along with him to meet Guru. Vegeta's escapades on Namek remain unchanged. He slaughters a village of Namekians, hides a Dragon Ball, then fights and loses to Zarbon, leaving him barely alive. Then Frieza tells Zarbon to retrieve him and he's brought back to a healing pod. Krillin arrives at Guru's with Dende and they're eventually allowed in to see the old man. Guru would entrust Krillin with the Dragon Ball. "There is one more thing I can do for you. Your energy has a strange quality about it, but I can tell your heart is pure." Guru would place his hand on his head and unlock his potential, and his energy would skyrocket all the way up to 68,000. This is based on him going from 1,500 to 13,000 in the original, which is a little over 8.5 times stronger than he was. And Krillin kept getting stronger as he fought on Namek. He went from 1,500 to 13,000, then from 13,000 to 75,000. So, from the original 1,500, he was about 50 times stronger all told. So, by the time the fight with Frieza comes around, Krillin, in this timeline, will be at a level of 400,000. He's not there yet, but even at 68,000, aside from Frieza, he's the strongest thing on this planet. He still wasn't feeling great though. The extra energy was nice, but he was struggling to keep things together. The flight to Guru's place had taken hours and it only gotten worse. Still, he'd leave Dende with Guru and then take off with the Dragon Ball, heading back to Bulma and the others. Bulma had sent Gohan off to find a Dragon Ball that was by itself, aka the one Vegeta had found. And Frieza had decided to call the Ginyu Force. They needed more scouters, and they could always use the extra help. Once Vegeta was healed, he'd destroy the pod he was in, creating a distraction while he stole the Dragon Balls, and then he'd escape the ship, though Zarbon would give chase. Krillin arrived where they were hidden. Gohan was gone, apparently off looking for the Dragon Balls, so it was just Bulma and Yamcha. Krillin would tell Yamcha to go find Gohan and head to Guru's, so the old man could unlock their potential. Vegeta would find Krillin and Bulma, but he was a bit less eager to pick a fight with Krillin this time. He could sense that he was far more powerful than he was. He didn't understand how he'd gotten that much stronger in this little time, but he definitely had. Krillin's power was more than double his own. This didn't make any sense. He didn't even have time to ask how this was possible as Zarbon would arrive. Vegeta would easily dispatch Zarbon, thrusting his hand straight through his stomach. The sight of the blood from the wound was difficult for Krillin to look away from, but before he had a moment to act on it, Vegeta would fire another blast of energy, sending Zarbon flying to a watery grave. It actually took some restraint for Krillin not to go after his body. He was struggling to keep it together. He'd always taken blood from blood packs. He'd never taken blood directly from a person before. He wasn't sure he wanted to, but as things stood it seemed unavoidable. Vegeta would interrupt his train of thought. He knew he wasn't strong enough to take the ball from them, so, somewhat reluctantly, he'd offer a truce. "Powerful as you are, you still couldn't touch Frieza. Our only shot is to work together." You aren't wrong about that, but I don't have any plans of fighting Frieza. Hopefully we can avoid him. Then again, there was every chance they couldn't avoid him, so maybe it would be a good idea to have Vegeta around. At the very least, he could get hurt instead of himself, Gohan, or Yamcha. Fine, I suppose we could use the help, so you can join us, but I'm not dumb enough to trust you. Krillin and Vegeta would go meet up with Gohan and Yamcha, who had their potentials unlocked. Yamcha's power level is now a little under 64,000. In the original, Gohan went from 18,000 to 14,000, so 7.7 times stronger. So here he goes from 3,000 to a little over 23,000.
Krillin and Vegeta would arrive, with Krillin explaining they had a temporary truce.
Unsurprisingly, Guru refused to unlock Vegeta's potential despite the situation, but before a fight could break out over it, Guru would tell the group about the 5 energy signatures headed towards the planet.
So Vegeta would fill everyone in on what he knew about the Ginyu Force.
Good news is, you two should be stronger than most of them, aside from the captain. Vegeta would turn to Krillin and Yamcha, though he honestly wasn't happy about relying on a pair of Earthlings. But as things stood, it was really his only option. They'd decide to lead the Ginyu Force away from where they were, and they'd go find a place to hide the 2 Dragon Balls they had.
But it didn't take long for the Force to find them.
Gildo would steal the balls before giving them to Captain Ginyu. Kill them all except for Vegeta. We need him to tell us where the Dragon Balls are. Captain Ginyu would watch the fight from a fair distance, observing how his men performed.
4 on 4.
Jace versus the guy with the scars and the long hair, Berta versus Vegeta, Gildo versus that kid, and Raccoon versus the short one with the pointy ears. Vegeta would take up the offensive, trying to make up for the difference in strength with aggression, but it was no use. He tried to open the fight with a kick, but Berta was too fast, grabbing his leg and elbowing him in the stomach. He'd follow it up with a punch to the face before tossing him towards Captain Ginyu. Alright, Captain, I got him for you. Excellent work, Burner. Now I'll make him talk. You lot wrap things up here. Yamcha would duck a strike from Jace before hitting him with an uppercut. He'd follow that up with the Wolf Fang Fist, knocking Jace to the ground below. Maybe help out Jace, he looks like he could use it. With that, Ginyu would leave, dragging Vegeta by the hair along with him, who couldn't do anything to break out of his grip. Gildo would struggle to avoid Gohan, relying more or less exclusively on his psychic powers to do anything. Outside of that, there wasn't really much he could do against the kid. Inevitably, he'd eventually make a mistake, and Gohan would kick Gildo in the back of the head, knocking him unconscious. Krillin would avoid a punch from Raccoon before flipping the brute over his shoulder. He'd then attack him with an energy blast, which hurt him, sure, but it didn't take him out. This one was really durable. The attack had left a small cut in his cheek though, exposing blood. Krillin would hesitate, forcing himself to look away, exposing himself to a kick from Raccoon right to the side of the head. His ears were ringing. He was stronger than this guy, sure, but not by so much he could get careless. He wasn't in danger of losing unless he really messed up, but he could get injured. Raccoon would hit him with an overhead strike, sending him downwards. He'd then fire the eraser gun to pursue Krillin, though he'd just about recover in time to dodge it. Keep your head in the game, Krillin! Yamcha yelled before being kicked by Berta, who'd now joined the fight to help Jace. He was stronger than either of them individually, but against both at once it was difficult to keep up. The kick from Berta sent him stumbling forward, only for him to be punched in the face by Jace. Before he could recover from that, Berta would hit him again with an elbow strike. Ah, what's the matter? Can't keep up? Unfortunately, Berta stopping to taunt him was a mistake, as it gave Yamcha an opening. Kaioken! He'd explode forwards, kneeing Jace in the stomach. Berta would attempt to punch him, but this time Yamcha caught it, grabbing his fist before throwing him over his shoulder towards Jace. The two of them would get up, but before they could do anything else, they'd be knocked unconscious by a chop to the back of the head from Yamcha. He'd then drop his Kaioken, needing a breather. Krillin was having more trouble than he should against Raccoon, constantly fighting with himself to avoid biting him, but it was a losing battle. Raccoon could see things were going badly, and the one he was fighting was getting more and more vicious. He was pretty sure he tried to bite him. He'd attempt to take them all out with his patented Raccoon Ultra Fighting! Krillin would finally snap, rushing forward, grabbing a hold of Raccoon and biting down on his neck, drinking his blood. It wasn't something he wanted to do, he didn't like doing it, and as soon as he was lucid again, he'd immediately stop when he realized what he was doing, letting Raccoon go before knocking him unconscious with a blow to the face. He'd never done that before. He felt a little sick, but that would be enough blood to sustain him for a while. Vegeta would be dragged back to the ship before being thrown to the ground in front of Frieza. Good to see you, Vegeta. I hope Ginyu wasn't too tough with you. Go to hell. Vegeta spat before flinching as Frieza fired a death beam through his hand. He'd only just stifle a shout of pain. Now then, will you be a good boy and tell me where the Dragon Balls are? Or do I need to extract the information from you via torture? Why would I give up the only information keeping me alive? There are worse things than death, Vegeta. That's something you're about to learn. Vegeta would flinch as Frieza raised his finger, preparing another death beam. That seems like a good place to stop. What do you think? Will Krillin be the same after drinking blood of a living person? Is Vegeta the type of person to give up information under torture? Or is Frieza wasting his time? Find out next time. The Frieza saga is a weird one because, well, Vegeta's side of things doesn't really change much, so there's not much to say till the Ginyu Force shows up. Or alternatively, I just suck, which is also a possibility.
Let me know what you thought of this part in the comments, or just say hi. Honestly, anything is fine. Hope you're enjoying this series so far. Maybe leave a like or subscribe, but that's up to you. Anyways, that's all from me. Have a good day.